It's a podcast, it's a video, and more.
Okay.
Welcome to
We Grown.
Question mark?
I'm Shaun,
I'm Moyo.
I'm Jess.
and first things first. What had you feeling grown?
So, our neighbor behind us religiously cuts his grass. And my husband was looking out the window and he's like, this is going to be me in 30 years. So I go look out the window and the guy is wearing jean shorts, a t-shirt, and like one of those little like fishing kind of hats. And I tell my husband, that's you now. And he's like, that's not me. I don't have that outfit. And I'm like, you have the exact outfit upstairs in the closet. And this man, he's so old. And I'm like, we old. Like, this is not you in 30 years. This is you now. We are him. And so it was really funny, but yeah, that had me feeling a little old because my husband is old.
So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about love languages and kind of how they correlate to our friendships, but also kind of our relationships, like our marriages, essentially. I think oftentimes, like when people bring up love languages, they're just talking about themselves in general. So I think it's really good to think of it in like a friendship kind of way. Even when you take the quiz, it's still more so angled towards like being in a relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
So because go ahead.
I mean, which was interesting because on the website it definitely had like for friends.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is kind of
The questions aren't
They are not targeted towards friends. Like
Yeah.
some of these questions, like it's gonna be an easy answer on one of these questions because I don't want my friend doing this
yeah.
kind of
I mean,
thing.
and it's not to critique the test
Yeah,
or anything
yeah,
like that. I mean, because
yeah.
I think it's a great test,
Yeah.
but it just seemed weird. I thought it was going to be tailored a little bit differently
Right.
than it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one of us should have taken it as a single person.
I
'Cause-
did
That's
that.
what I
Oh.
did.
that
I
for-
did that too.
And it's the same
It's
question.
still
Okay.
more so like if you're in a relationship, how would you want to be treated, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, never mind then.
Yeah, because I thought that was going to be the difference, but it ended up not being different. So
Yeah.
it's the exact same questions. I wonder, because there is an option for you to be taking it as a parent of a child, but I don't know. I feel like it's still going to be the same questions.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
We took the exam and it's free at 5lovelanguages.com. So if you're interested in taking the exam for yourself, just remember the things that we had kind of already mentioned. That it's kind of geared towards relationships, whether you're single or in a relationship. So just keep that in mind. But it's a free test. It's pretty insightful, and I think it starts a lot of good conversation and just introspection.
And just so you know, there's no affiliation with this.
Yeah, we are not
We're
sponsored.
just doing it
Yeah.
because it's a pretty good test to take.
Yeah.
And something I think people should know for themselves, for their relationships, and so on and so forth.
All right. So what are the 5 love languages? Is what we should probably start with so
Yeah.
people know. We have acts of service, which is basically
Just kind of helping other people out or helping you out. That could be getting you a cup of coffee or helping you run an errand or just anything that's a way to help somebody. It can be big or small.
yeah.
And I love the taco reference. So acts of service would be like, let me make you a taco.
Yeah. The next one,
Sorry.
the next one is quality time. I mean, there's no order per se,
Yeah,
but
there's-
the
yeah.
next one we're talking about is quality time. And that one has to do with just being present with someone. So it's not necessarily that you're doing anything together, but just being together in someone's space.
Let's make tacos together.
Yeah, kind of. But
Yeah, kind of.
if you wanted to combine them,
Yeah.
Okay.
then
Wait,
we
what do you mean combine them?
like if you're combining.
Oh, I'll
Quality
make you
time.
tacos and then let's make them together. Like
Yeah,
let's cook
quality time.
together.
Yeah, that would be quality time. Let's make tacos together.
But I think the idea
still think
is
it's
that
still you're
quality
helping?
time is we're just together. We
okay.
aren't
Yeah.
necessarily doing anything together, but we're in each
Yeah,
other's presence.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then I feel like that one kind of goes into, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's quality time, but it's like I don't want to do work in my quality time, so it's levels to it, I guess.
I mean, well, I take it if you like cooking, then it could be the same thing as like us making a puzzle together, putting together a puzzle.
Yeah, that could
I
be
guess it
possible.
j- yeah,
Yeah,
it just
I would say
depends.
that. Yeah, that one. Because I feel like, yeah, it definitely depends on the person. Because somebody could consider cooking like a
Work.
service
Yeah.
and work. Yeah.
Then another one is physical touch, and it's not necessarily romantic. So some people like hugs, some people like to hold hands, some people like to touch somebody's leg or something, like just random physical touch acts.
Let me hold you like a taco.
Okay. Then we have words of affirmation. And that one has to do with basically,
Affirming the person.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's using the
Yeah.
definition. I'm trying not to use the definition.
Encouraging or like uplifting somebody,
Motivating.
With your
motivating.
words.
Yeah.
And
there
kind
we go.
things like
You're going to use a taco.
I love your tacos.
Yeah, that's a words of affirmation. Like,
Sure.
whatever you want to call tacos, you know? And then the last one would be receiving gifts. Yep. And I feel like that's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Like getting gifts, it doesn't have to be something expensive. It could be like I picked up a candy bar and I thought you would like it, or I made you this paper airplane because you used to talk about paper airplanes all the time.
Or I went to the store and got you tacos.
Yeah, it's a gift.
They were giving out free tacos, and I made sure to pick you up one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gift doesn't have to be something that costs money necessarily, but it's something that just makes you feel like, oh, you thought about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think, so we both took the test as in a relationship and then towards my friends, and you just took the towards
I just
my
took
friends.
it in general because I think mine ends up being
The
the
same for
same for in a relationship and with friends. I mean, even the way I work at work, I think it's the same thing.
And mine is very different for both.
Mine is kind of similar a little bit. I think it does vary a little with like a romantic relationship versus a friendship versus a dating relationship also. So, because like when I took the test the first time, I was single as a Pringle, and then like when I took it before I took it for for us to discuss like getting the newest one, we were dating at the time. So yeah, I think things change.
Yeah, things definitely change. And my top two usually flip flop depending on where I am in life. But for friends, my top is just completely different. It's like my last option for relationships. So that's interesting to me. Do we want to go over what our
Yeah.
top result is
Sure.
for friendships? Or let's start with for friendships.
Sure, because mine is going to be the same either way.
Yeah.
You want me to start
Yeah.
since I'm on this side? So my number one is words of affirmation. Actually, when I took it, I tied for my first three, which I thought was pretty strange. So then I had like a
Tiebreaker.
tiebreaker question because that was the only one that had three of them in it, and I was like, oh shoot, look at me. So the first one is words of affirmation. The second one was quality time, tied with acts of service. And then it was receiving gifts, which was pretty low. It's almost 20% lower. And then physical touch, which was only 3%.
And mine is literally the exact same order when it comes to friendships.
Twinsies.
That's why we're friends. Like,
Yeah,
we get
yeah,
it.
We do.
And what's yours?
So acts of service pretty much has always been like number one. Quality time surprisingly has like changed over the years. Like at first it was like probably at the bottom. But now it's definitely like number two, and then it's receiving gifts. Words of affirmation and physical touch. Those two are actually tied. So Yeah.
At the
Mine-
bottom?
Yeah.
Okay.
So words of affirmation and physical touch are like the same.
Yeah. For your friends.
For my friends,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
For my
Okay.
friends.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that words of affirmation is number one for me for my friends. But then when I talk to you guys about my results, you guys are like, yeah, da 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 da. But when I'm talking to my husband, I'm like, don't sell me no dreams, just do it. Like acts of service, quality time. That's all I need from you. I don't need extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with my friends, it's like, yeah, hype me up. Like
Yeah.
I'm a hype beast to my friends, and I expect the same.
Yeah.
So I would have never guessed that words of affirmation would have been that high for me, and it's my number one.
Yeah, I definitely would have said that. It would have been your number one, either that or quality time, because the
Yeah.
amount of time that we put into our friendships, just like hanging out with each other, I think that's pretty high up there. I mean, but words
Yeah.
of affirmation, you are very much like me, where I'm like, don't I look nice today?
Yeah.
Did you forget to tell me?
But it's funny also because I affirm myself
and
mostly,
and
and
you
then I'd be like,
and you have us affirm for you for ourselves. I don't know.
I don't know. Like it's weird. It's like I'm already very. I know I look good, and I will tell everybody. But also, don't I look good? Like that's
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not. I'm waiting for them to necessarily answer, but also answer. So
She wants you to take part in.
It's just
Like-
a.
like verify,
Yeah.
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 affirm me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I've known about our relationship for a while is that you're very forthright with like what you want out of the relationship or what you need from the other person,
Yeah.
whether it's expressed out of frustration or like just, like blatantly like, hey, this is, something I've noticed. So I definitely think like it's just something that you want from people because it's a recognition of who you are. It's not for you to recognize yourself, but it's just like see me, like, and see that yes, like this looks good. Like I know I look good. Recognize that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then quality time is very close second because
Oh my goodness, yeah.
yeah, most of my friendships that ended is because of quality time. Like if I can't, even if it's a phone call, I cannot function without it. Like we are not friends if we aren't keeping up that way. And I think in one of our past episodes we talked about like when you were away or I was away and we were starting to kind of drift apart because of the lack of quality time. And then it was like, okay, just make a group chat and start just talking, see what's going on. Like social media is not enough for me to call you my friend. Like it's a friend request, but it's just a random person
Yeah.
until you have those conversations like, oh, I saw that picture. What were you actually doing? What are the details? Like, I want to know all of those things. And sometimes I just want to be on the phone and say nothing. I want you to watch me drive to the
Yes.
store. I want you to just be in the room while
Yeah.
I'm randomly
Yeah.
doing nothing.
Yeah, I need you all to know that our conversations can go on for hours. And it's not even necessarily that we're talking to each like I think someone could drop out and come back in and then it's like
We still
it
there.
just keeps on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because John all the time is like, you still on the phone?
My husband does the
He's
same
like,
thing.
"You're not
They
even-
all do.
They all be like,
Y'all not
you
even
still
talking.
on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, but they right there. Like, look at them.
Exactly.
Look at them.
We're right there living life with you in the moment. And that's the great thing about video chat and just phones in general, technology, because we have that ability. I can just be on the phone till our phone dies if that's what we want to do.
Like, is Marcus lifting? I'm like, yes, he
Yeah,
is.
we've gone to the gym with each other
Yeah.
virtually. We go to the grocery store virtually. Like they
Be driving,
I know.
just
Picking out couches.
literally everything.
yes.
Literally.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
how
on
it is.
occasion we poop virtually. Like
Like-
it's
Just put it on mute.
Yeah.
Camera off. I be in the shower, honestly. I be like, listen,
that too.
camera off. Y'all hear the water running. I can hear y'all. I'll
do
respond.
everything.
Say, I'm around. Don't worry. I'm paying attention.
Yeah. And then gifts. I feel like gifts should have been higher for you. Or I
So,
would have thought.
I think the way that I look at this is the way that I like to get things, not necessarily how I give.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I am definitely, I mean, my family I think my mom and my sister's love language are gift giving. So like if we go on vacations, they expect me to bring them a gift back. Like that's how we do. Like Christmas, Mother's Day, birthdays are always very large. Whether I want it to be that way or not, but that's how we are. So then I think I kind of have gotten into the
So you
way of doing gifts, but I think my gifts are typically more personal. I feel like usually, like when I think about gifts that I've given you guys, like I thought about the smiley face pillows that I gave you for Christmas one year, and I tried to match them all to like everybody's not necessarily personality, but like an
Our
interaction
quirks.
between
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Or I think about when I made you guys like paintings and stuff like that for Christmas and things like that. So I feel like it's typically that way for me for giving or
Yeah,
showing.
and I that makes sense now that it's not necessarily your love language, but you do it to show love to the people that you know it's their love language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't do that. Like they just love in their love language, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I do. I love in my love language, but being married now, I started to learn to love in other people's
Yeah.
love language. But you are, I guess, ahead of the game. Like,
so I wouldn't
you've just
necessarily
been-
say that. I would say that I learned that from my mother and my sister. So with John, I also tried to do gift giving for my love language. So I
Yeah.
remember
for him as a way to show him
for him,
love.
and it
Yeah.
was not working out.
Yeah.
So like we were trying to like John has some ideas and he's thinking about like fashion designing and things like that. So then he's like, "Oh, well, like you haven't supported me in this whatsoever." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like I bought you a sketchbook. I bought you a book on fashion history, 3 books on fashion history. Like I bought you fabric." And he's like, I never really thought about that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
'cause it's
oh,
Yeah,
gifts.
'cause
yeah,
yeah.
because I was giving him gifts to show that of my love and my appreciation of it and supporting him. But
He
I
wanted
think
the affirmation.
no, he wanted more like I think he wanted me to be doing it with him. He's
Ah,
very
like
like
quality
quality
time.
time.
yeah, so he's very
Yeah.
big with quality time. So he wanted me
I
to
love
be doing
that.
it with him, like kind of like showing because I'm a graphic designer. I do a lot of artistic things. If you haven't gathered that from these conversations,
And my shirt.
what? Yeah,
Brought to
so
you
check out my
Sponsored
shirt.
by.
So I do things like that. So I think he was expecting me to more so, I don't want to say guide him, but kind of help him deal with it and like show him the ropes. But my thought was, let me provide you with these things that will help you
Yeah.
and support you. But that took some time to get used to. I mean, that was earlier on in our relationship, but now it's definitely been easier. And now that I know exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my husband, one of his love languages is gifts, and that's what he would do too. But it was his love language. He didn't know necessarily what mine's were, and so he would buy me things, and then I wouldn't use them, and then he would be upset, and I'd be like, I didn't ask for this. All I asked for is for you to lay here with me. That's it.
Like, yeah.
So we went through that phase of me getting gifts, not using them. He's upset, and then the cycle just kept going until he finally was. We did the love languages quiz, and then we said, okay, these are my things, these are your things. So now I buy him gifts because I know that's what he likes, and he was doing it to me thinking that's what I want
Yeah,
back.
doing his own love language.
Yeah, and then he does like just spending time with me, like stay up a little bit, or instead of him watching basketball, he'll be like, what can we both watch together? Because sometimes quality time is just being in that person's presence, but if they're not there mentally,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
this doesn't count because you were just watching basketball the whole time. So
Yeah.
it doesn't count as quality time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, because I was single for so long, I learned a lot from my friendships. And like for you, definitely, I think I learned the most probably about like love languages, receiving and giving. So like what's mine giving and then what's mine receiving? Like how do I receive love and how do I give love? And like it probably first happened when you went to Hawaii, when you first left for Hawaii. And like, I text and I call here and there, but you came. I think there was one conversation we had, and you were saying like we don't talk as often, and like I would prefer if we talked more. Like I don't feel like we talk often enough, and it really hit me because I was just like, oh, I thought I was in touch with you enough, because I'm the kind of person where acts of service and gifts are my love language. Like those were the ones that I like always do for other people because that's how I think is the best way to show them that I love them.
Yeah.
And so with her out of town, I was just like, if she needs me, she can call me and I'll do whatever, or if she needs something, quick to send it, especially because Hawaii was expensive. So I was just like, if you need me to send you something, like just let me know kind of thing. But I think her telling me like, no, like quality time, like I just want to like spend time on the phone, like let's talk, we don't even have to be talking all the time. And so from there, that's when I really understood, like for her, quality time wasn't me just doing stuff for her, but just existing together in the same space. And even when she came back, she was like, yeah, like even if you come over my house and we just sit here, we don't have to have something to do, like just spend time with me. That's like my love language. So it's hard sometimes, like Shaun was saying, like when you are giving your all into a love language and the person's not receiving it because that's not how they receive love. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it's better to learn it sooner than later and like accept it, because I think sometimes we can get stuck in like, well, this is what I've always known, this is what I know is right, but if the other person isn't really receptive to that, like you have to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes effort and practice and
for sure,
all of that. Like just to, I mean, it's part of growing up. I mean, it's what makes you better, as a friend, as a partner, as a worker too. Because like I'm a supervisor, so I kind of have to know how to do that with my employees as well. So it's like some people like more words of encouragement, things like that. Gifts are more challenging in the workplace, but there are ways you can do things. Even, I mean, quality time, I try and make sure I check up on everybody every so often. So it's just kind of like learning how people function. That, and it helps. It really does. You just really kind of gotta want to go the extra mile. Which can be challenging.
Yeah, I definitely think it's challenging when it's one that you're uncomfortable with. So for me, I think is it personal touch?
Physical touch.
Physical touch.
Physical touch, yeah.
With me, physical touch was, I guess, odd in friendships. Because like I don't know, like I'm a little weird about
I am
physical touch. Like I like being in close proximity with my friends, but I don't necessarily need to be touching them all the time. And I have like two friends in particular who are very, very touchy.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was definitely an adjustment, because it was just like not nails on a chalkboard, but just like it just made me on high alert, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you need that physical affection all the time, like it's even like in a friendship, like constantly wanting to be hugged or just held or just like lean on you and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if Marcus's love language was physical touch.
Oh yeah, it is.
Because,
it definitely is.
Like I will never forget when we were at Massanutten and I was lovely sleeping by myself. Next thing I know, freaking that monster arm came and whoop, and I was like, oh no. And then I was like, well, I guess we're sleeping
together
like this. And I was like, dang, he's strong. I was like, well, I won't be peeing anytime soon.
He's very, very touchy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm not a big toucher. Like it's the last thing on my list, but I acknowledge that other people do it. I mean, it's not in a way, it's just something where you kind of have to get, I don't want to say used to, but it's just like acknowledging, like, that's just how they do. Like, you have, when people are like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, whoa,
Me too.
Yeah, same. And
and it's like, no, like, and I definitely have other friends that do that, where it's like, I've just kind of gotten.
It's like your modes kind of switch.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know this friend really like I have friends who really love hugs. And from those friends, I'm like, I'm all in on the hugs. Like, please, yes,
Yeah.
hugs. But I think there was that transition point that still had to happen where I was just like, oh, this is okay. This is you. This is
Yeah.
how you receive love. Like, yeah, it's definitely, it's weird at first, but
Yeah.
I definitely now to the point where it's just like, I don't even think about the fact that like this person is going to want
Yeah.
physical affection.
Yeah. I think it reminds me of people who ask, "Are you a hugger?" And you say no, and they still hug you, and it's like, why'd you ask? Why did you ask me if I was a hugger if you're gonna hug me? It's like, well, I'm a hugger. Hugs you anyways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and no shame to like, this is just because we're talking about physical, but like, I know words of affirmation is not Shaun's, like, whatsoever. So he struggles with that, or used to struggle with that with me, because I would be like, you don't never say, like, I'm over here looking all nice and cute. You don't say nothing.
Listen.
I was like, or like, was my food good? Like, can you say something? He's like,
Bruh.
why do I need to say
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
if,
that's
like,
for Marcus.
if you already know? And I'm like, because I want to hear
I
it.
want to hear it every
Like-
time. Let me get sick of it. Don't let me get sick of it.
Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
me get sick of it.
Yeah. My husband loves words of affirmation and physical touch. And words of affirmation is not that bad. I try to hype him up now, and I think I've gotten to the point where he's like, don't hype me up. Like, you're just talking to talk. And I'm like, no, like, I like it. I like this about you. And he feels like I'm not being genuine
Yeah.
sometimes, where I am. You wanted me to hype you up, and now I'm hyping you up. When I start hyping you up, I'm going to hype you up.
Yeah, I feel like I experienced that with him at the cookout the other day, because I wanted to compliment him, but then I didn't want to, because I was like, I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. And then I was just like, well, I want to give him, I was like, hey, are you, I was like, you look like you're slimming down.
Oh, he loves
I was
loves
I was
that.
like, you look like you're slimming down. And he's like, oh, yeah? And I was like,
yes,
yeah.
he will have a whole conversation after that.
Like, and I was like, oh. So, and he took it way better than I thought it was. And I was like, I should have just did it in the first place.
Yeah, he loves words of affirmation. I don't know about physical touch for his friends, but
I feel like that's got to be at like a 0. I don't think he needs physical touch with his friends. Like maybe a dap up, but outside of that, I
yeah,
don't
that's
really
what
see him.
I don't really know.
'Cause I don't
for
think he
friends.
hugs.
I think he does. He does hug people.
Yeah.
It might not be guys, but
Does he hug squirrel? Or do they like
I think they
fist bump, or-
like dap up, do the little hug.
But it's
like
just
they do the little
greetings.
dap up.
Oh, squirrels is
hug
probably
thing.
touch too.
Oh yes, it definitely
Yeah, 'cause I'd be
is.
like, why is your face on my face?
It definitely
We're
is.
so close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's usually way longer than I want it to be. But it's okay. I love you, squirrel. I know you love me too.
So, funny enough, I don't really know my husband's love languages. Like, I've kind of just been learning by discovery. Like, we've had the conversation. Trust me, we've had the conversation numerous times. Like, oh, what your love language is, or do you want to take the test? Like, I'm the kind of person like, if there's a way for me to know,
Let me know.
let me know.
Yeah.
And he's more of a let's discover as we go along. Let's do observations. And so he doesn't really identify with any of them. He's just kind of like,
Maybe you gotta secretly. Like, would you prefer a gift? Or
One
me
a day
saying
for a
something
month?
nice? Like,
That's kind of what I've been doing in my head. So like for him, based on just my experience, like I definitely recognize that physical touch and quality time are super duper high.
I could see. Well, not.
I was
physical
gonna
touch, but
say.
yeah, quality
Yeah.
time.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
see.
say,
Quality-
you know who
like,
would be a
physical
good person
touch
to
for-
ask?
Yeah.
Moyo.
Well, I know quality time. because
Quality time for sure.
It was
He
never an
spends
issue.
time with people.
Yes, it was never an issue for him to be like, "Let's go do this,"
Mhm.
and then just be there. And I'd be like, so when you leaving?" Like, I'm a quality time, but he's definitely quality
He's definitely
time.
quality time. Like only because I'm his wife do I know like physical touch is like his thing. But with other people, I would definitely say physical touch is like a 0.
Yeah.
He don't be touching people. He just barely likes doing it for work, I'm sure. But yeah, I definitely know like quality time is super duper high for him. Like he will go out of his way to like spend time with people
I
that
would
he
say
really cares
gifts
about.
for him is probably high, not receiving necessarily, but he used to do like for his mom get her gifts and like
Yeah, I
really
think
be
he
that
definitely
type
likes
of son.
giving gifts.
Yeah.
He definitely likes giving them, but receiving them, I do think it ranks kind of lower.
It might still be mid because the way he talks to my husband, like that was why he wanted to buy him something. He was like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
he was like, well, he likes this type of thing and he only has this. But I don't know if it's more so that my husband likes gifts or because I'm pretty sure he reached out like, oh yeah, I like the bag, and then he brought the bag with him. So I'm like,
So that because even early in our relationship, again, mine is gift. One of mine is gift giving. Like I like to give gifts and I like to do acts of service. For me, it's like something tangible, something that's going to impact you. And so for me, I was just like, okay, I gotta like find out what he likes. And he's more like, if I can use it, then I'm going to take it. But if it's just kind of like,
a random.
yeah. So for him, gifts is just weird in the sense of like it has to be meeting a need. So that's why I think acts of service probably comes a little bit before gifts. But quality time is first. Acts of service, gifts. I wouldn't really rank it. I'd rank it maybe last because then there's the affirmation one, and I think maybe affirmation might be a little lower. But as a wife, like I think he receives a lot of my affirmations probably more than he receives them from other people. So friendship wise, it ranks lower. But yeah, I think higher up, I think he really does take to heart what I say. So I try to really be intentional with my words.
Yeah, I think he takes to heart what everyone says, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
just tries to mask it in his sarcasm and stuff like that.
I hate sarcasm.
So, yeah, definitely probably those. If you just tell people and stop trying to be smart. I hope he watches this. But yeah, I think people would say nicer things, and I'm pretty sure he likes that because they be talking about, oh, in basketball this happened and this happened and then and they love that life. Like they love complimenting each other. I won this many games. Oh, you did good. Your team did this. Like,
yeah, friendship wise, affirmation is probably up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I changed my mind on that. But yeah, acts of service. I will say acts of service and gifts probably go together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I can see it. I guess.
I think that the guys, or our husbands anyway, will eventually figure you out. And
I feel like it's just that I've been gone for a while, so it's like
you've been gone, and I think first impressions of you weren't that great for at least for mine.
I was about to say.
I don't know about yours.
I think they're like the same person. They're both very sarcastic, borderline, can be rude if they wanted to be. I
always say, like, I feel like we would be really good friends.
Yeah, and they're kind of parallel because they're both artistic.
I was like, I think I told him when we were getting food the other day, I was like, I really feel like we would be really good friends.
And he's
but we
said
just
that
don't,
to me before. Yeah,
we just don't allow it.
Yeah,
because he's like, I feel like I'd get along with Shaun. Like, I know he's definitely recognized a lot of the similarities you guys have, even down to like probably the shows you both would like to watch.
The shows, the games, like like I was going through,
I
was looking and I was like, need a saint.
Yeah, and my husband is he's still trying to figure you out, and he's not the type of person to shut people out completely. He's not me. Like, he will give chances and try to figure it out as it goes. So there's potential for you guys to be, I don't know if I want to say friends, but like, like.
Moyo's definition of friends is very rigid. Let's just put that out there first. Let's put that on the table just so people can know. Moyo does not consider just anybody friends. Like, she could have known you for years and she still will not consider you a friend unless like you're a part of like her core or her circle. Let me just say her circle. Like, there has to be like that exchange of vulnerability, as we've discovered this week, that for her to really develop a deep relationship with someone, to call them a friend, there has to be vulnerability and safety.
And there should be other words besides just this one blanket friend. Like, that's why it's hard for me to be like, everybody's my friend, because you're not. Like,
I mean, but I would say that our relationship isn't in a bad place.
Yeah, no.
I think we're fine. Like, yes, I think first impressions. I mean, I know how I was. Yeah. I mean, I was very outgoing, obnoxious, still a little bit, but I've definitely toned down a lot since I mean, John has definitely like, all right, you need to chill. So I ain't
out
at
to you,
100
John.
all the time. Probably like
Shout out to you.
75.8% all the time.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of helped balance. And then, I mean, like I said, it's kind of like just taking the time to learn people and acknowledge like what they like and how they like things. So like I know now, and I try and do a little bit different
Yeah.
to
My
everyone.
husband does like gifts. If you're really trying to get on his
Listen.
good side, he'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I would need to know like what you know how my
Saints,
my gifts
football,
are though. Like
yes.
they're usually meaningful not only to but like a thing between us. So one day we're gonna go to that
The
pub.
Guinness Factory.
Yeah, and then we're gonna
Be friends.
we will take it step
He
by
likes
step.
beer, so
I
that
do
could
like
be a bonding.
I like
Yeah.
a bonding.
alcohol, so
Yeah, he does too.
He did
Dark.
bring that up, yeah.
oh, I like it all.
He
Except
likes
for
dark.
I'm not a big gin guy, but
I love me some gin. Ooh. I do though. I really do love gin.
But yeah.
That's gonna be my thing.
so we're getting there
Yeah.
because we grown.
We are.
Question mark?
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. We have more episodes coming out, so we'll see you soon.
Love you.
Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.